right, let me get this straight. You want to build a super capable, really cool, impressive off-road vehicle, but you're broke? Well, I'm right there with you. Let me show you how I did it for all under $10,000. Well, under $10,000. Let me grab the vehicle out of storage real quick. Oh my God, it's so cool. What is that? I don't know if any of you actually sounded like that, but that's, in my head, everyone's very impressed. Well, before I tell you exactly what that awesome vehicle was, I'm gonna tell you how I got it and how I got it to look like that and how much money I spent on it. But first, if you do want to support the channel and help me do more of these projects, consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon, and if you want to go above and beyond, support me on Patreon. Love you. So I knew I wanted an off-road vehicle, but a specific kind of off-road vehicle. I'm not talking about a specific brand or model. I mean, I wanted this to be my scout vehicle. What's a scout vehicle? Well, this would be a vehicle that would go ahead of an overland convoy to kind of scout out the trail and see just how difficult it is before larger vehicles proceed. So this would have to be something that is somewhat short wheelbase, nimble, four-wheel drive, obviously, reliable, hopefully with relatively cheap maintenance, and obviously some form of aftermarket support. So we're talking about aftermarket support, reliability, short wheelbase. Just a simple Jeep Wrangler fits the bill, right? Wrong, you idiot. The next thing I had to do was ignore all the obvious choices. Not to make this more difficult for myself. I'm not doing it as like a challenge for myself. I would have picked a Jeep immediately. The issue is that every knucklehead and their mothers think that their stupid beat to YJ with a rough country lift is worth $10 million. Knock it off, please. Jeeps are overpriced as hell on the secondhand market. Toyotas are similarly overpriced as hell, which means I had to do a bit more digging. I personally used every online resource I could. I went to Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, CarMax, Car Gurus. I searched page after page after page trying to find the perfect little platform for my Scout vehicle build. And surprisingly, after a fairly short but very thorough search, a little white gem came to present itself to me. And I'm not talking about this little white gem, my Linky boy. Anytime I'm in here talking to the camera, he gets upset, which is insane because I've been talking to the camera literally his entire life. Like, I've been doing this since before he was born. Then he was born, the stork brought him to me, and he's known that I come in here and make videos. That's how I pay for your food, buddy. He doesn't give a shit. But he's my baby, so he can interrupt me all he wants. I know I've been teasing you, for those of you who didn't know what the vehicle was. It's a 1990 Geo 4x4 tin top. Now the tin top is very, very important here. But before we even get into that, let's rewind even further to the late 80s, early 90s. GM wanted another brand to fit around Chevy, and they made Geo. Geo is a US car manufacturer that had a few various models, and I say US because these are not American vehicles. For instance, the Geo Metro is a Suzuki Swift. The Geo Prism is essentially a Toyota Corolla. I mean, it literally is a Toyota Corolla. The Geo Spectrum is an Isuzu Gemini. The Geo Storm is an Isuzu Impulse? Yes, Impulse. Like how I impulsively buy car parts and watches and I frustrate everyone in my immediate family. And then finally, the Geo Tracker, which was obviously a Suzuki sidekick.
Here's one of our favorite good time selections for Ohio. Geo Tracker from the Chevy Geo Network. The 4x4 fun machine that's ready for action. And your Chevy Geo Network dealers are ready to deal. Select from hundreds of trackers starting as low as $97.05. Geo Tracker is four-wheel drive fun from just $97.05. The right selection is Geo Tracker from your Chevy Geo Network dealer. In Ohio, everybody's getting to know Geo.
So for those of you who are confused about the little logo in the front being a globe with like a Chevy emblem in the middle, but then it looks exactly like a Suzuki, it's because it is a Suzuki, but it's also a Chevy, but it's also a Geo. Holy shit, this is confusing. Okay, I mentioned that it's a tin top. Why the heck does that matter? Well, for those of you who remember these Geo Trackers, most of them were convertibles. They had like a partial hatch that would kind of pop off, just like a Jeep hardtop. Some of them had a soft top that you could use. Either way, whenever you find them online for sale, they're usually the convertible, and they're all beat to shit. So even if you have a nice working mechanical, drivetrain with a nice body, usually the hard top or the soft top, the seals are all bad, they rattle, moisture gets in, you can't trap any heat or AC in there. It's just terrible and not something you would actually want to bring into the elements. So finding a proper hard top, which is known as a tin top because the top is essentially tin, was just ideal. And when you look at the checklist of everything I wanted in a Scout vehicle, this pretty much fits the bill. I mean, a 1.6 liter sewing machine engine, essentially, a Japanese engine and drivetrain that has been proven, because again, it's a Suzuki, an 11-gallon gas tank that costs $40 to fill here in California, so it's cheaper everywhere else. Great gas mileage. It's automatic, so for those long overlanding trips where we're stuck in traffic on some interstate before we hit the trailhead, I won't have to mess with the clutch and stop and go. And when we're on some crazy ascent or descent, I won't have to mess around with the clutch and brake, and doing any of that stuff. Automatics are just much easier for this kind of build, and I was ecstatic to find one. Four-wheel drive works, manual locking hubs, AC blows nice and cold, and 4 bolts in the rear, removed that rear bench seat, and there's a ton, like a surprising amount of storage space. So although this isn't going to be my primary overlanding vehicle, because again, I do have my overland built LR3, having this on the trail going up ahead of everybody, it's just a nice little nimble vehicle to hit the trails, see what's up ahead, and then the rest of the convoy can follow. Oh, and did I mention that this thing rips off-road? So okay, the vehicle is cool, it's capable, and some of you can already see I've done things to it. So now let's talk about how I did all of this for well under $10,000. Well, I spent $3,500 on the vehicle itself. Then I spent $525 on a 2-inch coil lift with new shocks, $600 on some surprisingly good tires, honestly, $600 on a Trail Tough bumper, $300 on some aux beam lights with some awesome functions. We're gonna show you what they do here. Really cool settings on these lights, and incredibly bright. And guys, I gotta tell you, aux beam, super duper affordable for what you get. These are incredibly well built, and they do a whole lot. I love aux beam lights. I know there are other companies that offer lighting that are much more expensive. You don't have to mess around with that. Aux beam gets you the brightness, gets you the functionality, the build quality for a fraction of the price. I spent $200 on a Badland winch at Harbor Freight, and this is a 9,500 pound winch. And $99 on some upgraded LED headlight bulbs, and that was kind of a no-brainer. Totally, I mean, those headlights are bright enough by themselves. And then I spent about $70 replacing all the fluids in the vehicle, so that was just kind of some preventative maintenance, but everything else is perfect. So if my math is correct, I spent a grand total of $5,894 buying and building this Geo Tracker into the perfect Scout vehicle. Now, the modifications are not done. I actually did spend an additional $1,400 on another modification. I will not tell you what that is because the part isn't here yet, but even when we add that in, it's still going to be well under $10,000. So very excited with how this build's going. The thing runs like a top. It is in pristine condition for a 1990 vehicle, no leaks. Again, having the AC blow cold is just kind of like icing on the cake here. And I hope this goes to show that you don't have to spend a whole lot of money having a very cool looking, impressively built, very capable vehicle. Just don't buy into the hype. Build something you like within your budget. So I hope you stick around and watch us as we continue this build, because we are using this vehicle predominantly for our Time Away series, where we go out and explore places. And we do have support vehicles with us, and one of those support vehicles is my Overland built Land Rover LR3. And I definitely do not want to finish this episode without thanking my sponsors. That's right. It's all due to sponsors that I was able to buy and build this vehicle. Now you can see I didn't spend a whole lot of sponsorship money. It was under $10,000 worth, but very, very generous, my sponsors, for allowing me to do any of these projects. And the only reason they want to support me is because you support them. So my viewers, thank you, each and every one of you. And yeah, I hope you subscribe, hope you follow along, because we are not done with this vehicle and some other vehicles that we are building. And I even have one more vehicle that none of you have ever seen. How exciting, how naughty. I gotta stop doing that evil thing. I'm T3, it's time to drive.